5 menit sebelum news. Powell speaking. Mudah-mudahan sih bisa sampai blok abu-abu di atas itu ya. Karena saya juga masih punya kantungan. Saya taruh satu jebakan Batman di situ. Kita lihat si Powell pidato. Nih, tumben.
This is not a time to say that there are no risks, but some perhaps unseen. However, these risks in comparison to the risks of a resurgence of inflation present are modest. Given the already high prices due to President Biden's inflation, Americans simply cannot afford further price increases at the grocery store and gas pump. Such a resurgence would likely force the Fed to begin another tightening cycle, making mortgages, credit cards, and small business loans unattainable for many. That's why I urge the Fed to forge ahead with its monetary policy duties until you're confident the mission is complete and price stability has been restored. The fact is, over the past decade, we've witnessed too many distracting additional mandates, diluting the Fed's core mission of price stability. This is the reason we formed the Task Force on Monetary Policy, Treasury Market Resilience, and Economic Prosperity that will be led by Chair Frank Lucas. The task force purpose is to ensure that the monetary policy actions of the Fed are put under a magnifying glass and prioritized for this committee. And I look forward to our first hearing of the task force. I now want to turn to some of the other Fed responsibilities: bank regulation and supervision. The Fed was created by Congress to be an independent agency. The intent is to insulate the Federal Reserve's monetary policy from political influence. Unfortunately, in the last 2.5 years of the Biden administration, the Fed took on serious liberties with its independence in the areas of supervision. In law, Federal Vice Chair for Supervision is to develop policy recommendations that then have been brought to the Board of Governors for consideration. In my estimation, over the years, you and the Board have been too deferential to the statutory Vice Chairman for Supervision. Vice Chair Barr turned the Basel III endgame rulemaking into a partisan attempt to propose a massive hike on capital on American banks, making them less competitive.
The CPI goes up, or CPE, excuse me.
Well, if inflation goes up in general, forget about tariffs. In general, of course, we will use our tools, which is the interest rate, to bring it back down to 2% over time.
Okay. Yesterday, you told the Senate we're going to release the stress test scenarios before we implement them. Will you take a holistic look at large bank capital requirements, including the risk-based capital ratios like Basel III endgame, stress testing, to make sure that you don't have a contraction in the ability of credit to Main Street businesses?
Yes.
There's a proposal in Project 2025 that we abolish Fannie and Freddie. If there was no explicit or implicit federal guarantee for those who invest in mortgages, would that lead to higher mortgage interest rates?
Since you'd no longer be borrowing on the credit of the United States, in other words, so Fannie and Freddie would be privately funded, it could lead to that. I think privatizing Freddie and Fannie might have other virtues too, though, as has been considered many times by this committee and others.
Might have some virtues, but it would lead to higher mortgage rates.
It could.
The CFPB has been put on ice, but all the regulations remain in force. So if you're a bank that wants to comply with those regulations, there's nobody that can give you any clarification. So you don't know. And if you're a bank that doesn't want to comply, the next presidential election may put into practice a CFPB that enforces all the regulations that the Trump administration has tried to eliminate. Does that cause confusion for banks?
You're speculating about what the situation might be. I would say that it could. Yeah.
I yield back.
Threatens our stability right here. It is extremely important in an interconnected